Chris Smith, our first speaker for today. He's a motivational speaker, recovery coach, health and wellness advocate, and accountability partner. Welcome to the stage, Chris.
Thank you guys for having me, man. I really appreciate this. It's always humbling to be able to hop on a podcast, an event where we're discussing, oh, really, how do we get better? How do we get better? How do we become better? How do we just be better? Um, and that's a question I ask myself over and over and over, especially especially when I was stuck, what I call on the struggle bus. When I was on the struggle bus my whole life. And I was like, how do I get out of this? How do I move on from this when I see everybody else, like what the people that I aspire to be, the people that inspire me to be better, but yet I'm stuck here. How do I how do I move out of that? How do I move out from my environment, my situation, and my circumstances? How do I quit allowing those things that I've been in, the weight of my past to hold me down? How do I get out? How do I escape? How do I break the chains? How do I do that? For me, guys, and of course, Kelly knows I was on uh, their, what a name, awesome podcast. I was on their awesome podcast. So, um, and I shared some of that, and I'll touch on that a little bit. I was born into a very impoverished family, dysfunctional, and I don't even like that word really because uh, what seemed dysfunctional, it was just normality for us. So a lot of violence, a lot of drugs, a lot of exposure uh, to others in my neighborhood, a lot of just a lot of brokenness and a lot of hopelessness, and I've never seen anybody come out of it. It was just again a normality, and um, of course, growing up, I was never disciplined, really reprimanded for trouble, um, and we got to do what we wanted to do as kids. And we were exposed to a lot of different things because my mother and my stepfather um, had a lot of parties, and those parties would get out of hand. And we were kind of like, when I was a kid, we were kind of like the entertainment. And so we would come out of our room, and mind you, I lived in a one room, one bedroom little apartment that was falling in. And I didn't understand. I didn't understand why everybody wanted to come over to this dump of a place, but everybody did. And so I witnessed a lot of things. Of course, I took my first drink when I was 9. I snorted my first line of cocaine when I was 11. I got sent off to a juvenile detention facility when I was 14. Right back when I was 17 until my 18-year-old, until I turned 18. And then 3 months after I turned 18, I found myself with my first criminal charge and went to jail, seen all my friends or everybody that I hung out with. So it was like kind of like a welcoming home party. 2 years later, I found myself in prison, doing a few years, and I was addicted to drugs, crystal meth, opiates for a couple decades. And it was just a cycle. And for me, the question was, how do I get out of this when I see nobody else in my circles, in my environment? How do I get out of this? And I tried, I did. There were times where I put forth effort, but it was just too difficult. It was just too difficult. And this is a scary place. This is a scary place to be. Over the course of those years, 30, we'll say 30 years, I finally just accepted it. I just said, you know what? There's no use in trying. This is it. This is what life has handed me, and this is my life. This is what it's going to be. And I was scared, and this is dangerous. I was scared that if you take this away from me right here, even though I wanted it away from me, what was I left with? I was left with nothing. And so I would rather have something, be miserable in it, accept it for what it is, and the cycle of events that occur in my life, and at least be around people that are going through similar things to me, than take that away and be left with nothing. It's where I was at. So I accepted it. And this last time I was incarcerated, I was fighting a case, and I had a gentleman come in that I was very familiar with. He came in my cell, he sat on my bunk, and grew up with him. And he said something that just struck me. And all he said was, "Man, Chris, I'm going to change my life." He said, "I'm tired of this. I'm going to change my life." And I started thinking about my whole life. I started thinking about everything and trying and trying. And I knew what he was about to go through. And because I've been through it and I wanted to change. And so I laughed at him and I said, "Good luck, brother." I said, "Don't you get it? This is it. This is it for us." Okay. And he said, "I'm serious. I'm going to." Anyway, he got out. He got out a year and a half before I did. Okay. And when I got out, I went back on immediately, almost immediately to the same thing. And 2 weeks of my release, I see him walking up. And as he is walking up to me, I know something is different about him. I mean, he's almost kind of got like a glow on him. And when he's walking up in confidence. He's walking up smiling. He's walking up and he said, "I told you." He said, "I told you I was going to change my life." And I said, "I know you did. I know you did. It's all over you. It is all over you." And I said, "What did you do?" Because I'd never seen it. It never happened in the environment that I grew up in. Of course, I hear about it. Of course, I see it on TV, fantastic endings to movies and stuff, you know, and it gives me hope a little bit, but I've never seen it in person. I've never been in the vicinity of it that's somebody else that I knew changed their life. And he told me what he did. Mind you, I'd been up at that time when I talked to him for 3 days. So there was a seed that dropped. My heart was still a little frozen, but it was starting to thaw. And I knew that seed, once my heart started thawing, would still be embedded there. I knew it. So he would call to check on me. He would call my wife, not to see how I'm doing, see how bad it's gotten. And and it got to the point to where I was about to go back to the same place that I just came from for the same things that I'd been doing. And I was sitting in my bed, been up 5 days. If I didn't report in, I was going back to prison eventually. And I'd been up 5 days. It was like 5 a.m. My wife was at work. Nobody was up, and I was watching this ceiling fan. And I'd done something I'd never done before in my life. I tried everything else. So I said, "God help me." And I meant it with all my heart. I meant it to the very fabric of my being. And 5 minutes later, can't make this up. It's crazy. 5 minutes later, I get a on my window, and it's my buddy who changed his life. He said God told him to swing by here on his way to work to check on me. And so I knew right then. He said, come to the front door. So I went to the front door. I opened the door. I'm miserable. We look at each other in silence for a moment. And he said, boy, I came just in time, didn't I? I said, you sure did. I need help. That was the first. That was the first. I went to this rehab. I've been to 7 rehabs. Okay. Been to 7 rehabs. And I'll shorten this part up. I know how this thing works. Look, I'm very irresponsible, but if you put me in structured environments, I'm going to ace them. If you tell me what I need to do, I'm going to knock it out the park. I just don't know how to live on my own, by myself. I don't know how to be responsible. But there were things that happened there. There were things that happened there that were pivotal for me, and people started sharing and pouring into me, and I started believing it. Okay, I started believing it, and I got real serious. And it was a 4 month program. And I went into the treatment facility executive director's office and I said, hey, I need to stay here for as long as I can. He said, stay as long as you want. I ended up staying there for 2 years because I had a lot to work on. But this is what I did. When I finally took my life serious and I wrote down every area of my life that I could think of that was an extension of me, I wrote every one of them down. And I asked myself, am I fit or am I unfit in these areas? And every one of those areas was in shambles. Yeah, I might have been off of drugs. Yes. But I still wasn't eating right. I was still scrolling on my phone. I was still consumed by the world. I was consumed by the world, wanting everything and I just broke it all the way down. I broke it all the way down and said, my life is in shambles. What can I do right now to start getting fit? And I'm going to tell you, God said, run physically, get up and run. And so I got up. Mind you, I was almost 275 pounds. I'm a thin framed guy, and so, and I figured I'd be good at running because I've ran from everything my whole life. So, so I got up, laced my shoes up, put them on tight, and I went outside to run and I ran a quarter mile. That's all I had. That's all I had. And my feet hurt, my shins hurt, my side hurt. And the next day, that next morning at 5 o'clock, I was woke up with the same thing. Run. Guys, I was in pain. I'm going to tell you, I was sore. I was sore. I did not want to run. I did not want to run. But I put my shoes on and I got up that morning and I ran again through the pain. And as I was running through the pain, and I ran another quarter mile, that's all I had. But as I was running through the pain, it struck me here that when you're going to go through life, it's going to be painful. Progress is painful, and there are things that you are going to have to deal with through the pain, through your emotions, to get to the other side, to attain what you want to attain, to continue to improve. Okay. That's where I was at. And so every morning, I knew that I knew that I wanted to create habits, and I don't believe habits just magically appear. I believe we create a routine, behave and act accordingly in that routine, commit to it, stay disciplined, and then the habit comes later. So I checked my behavior every morning. Every morning. I adopted a mindset that said, regardless of what happens, I'm going to leave the results and the outcomes up to the results and the outcomes. I need to make sure that I'm putting my effort in, committed to putting forth my best. Fit for Recovery was born. Frequency, intentionality, and time. I don't care about the people's shape of their body. I care about the shape of your life. I don't care about the weight externally that's on you. I care about the weight that's in here. The rest is just bonus. I want us healthy, overall healthy. When the word says to be sober minded, I wanted us to manage our life sober, right? I wanted us to be here first because this is where it all begins. Here, mindset, thoughts provoke feelings, feelings provoke decisions, decisions provoke actions, actions provoke results, outcomes, or consequences. And so I knew that my thinking, you ever heard that thing, stinking thinking? Hey, I knew that my thinking was going to be the catalyst that catapults me into those other areas that I want to improve and those goals that I wanted to attain. And if I did not attain them, that's fine. I'm still going to keep striving to reach my full potential, whatever that is. And I was ready. I was ready to risk it all. When you have nothing, when you start with nothing, it's easy to risk. It's easy to risk. Then when you build up and you keep building and you keep building, the trajectory of your life keeps going up, and you find yourself at a spot that says that you say, this is good enough, even though I want more. Absolutely not. No. I know what it's like to have nothing. I know what it's like to come from down, And so for me, I know I can come out of this, so I risk it all. I risk it all, every bit of it. For me, it doesn't matter. Now, some may want to stay in that comfortable position because it's nice. Yeah, yeah. When I was growing up, I slept on the floor. I got a California King. Man, I would hate to lose that. I would hate to lose it, but I will if it means to continue to elevate and strive for what I want to attain in this life. And here's the whole thing, though. And let me bring this back to Christ, please, for me. He said, count the cost. When you follow me, you count the cost. And he never put a price on that. He left that broad. All I know is obedience is greater than sacrifice. So if I have to lose that California King, or if I have to lose my house, or if I have to lose some friends, or if I have to lose some status, whatever, to follow him and to keep following him, to continue to step into that place that he has purposed for my life, then I will. That's what I'm willing to do. And it's here. It's right here for me. Okay, Chris, you're going to run into some things today. Understand that. And let me tell you this. When I counted the cost before I completely signed up, we all want that metamorphosis to that butterfly, and we see that butterfly and it's beautiful. It's beautiful, and I've always wanted that. I wanted that transformation. Yeah, but that's not where my focus is at. My focus is on the caterpillar in the cocoon within that pupa transforming. And here's the thing. I had to do this by myself. The caterpillar, if something was to help it wrap itself into that pupa, it dies. It dies. And here's the thing. As it wraps itself into that pupa, and then the cocoon forms, that transformation is ugly. It's messy. It's sticky. It's not pretty. It's not pretty. And so I focused my attention right there. Chris, as you're going along in this journey and you're trying to change and you're trying to evolve and you're trying to elevate and you continue to transform, you have to understand that this is not going to be pretty. This is going to be messy. This is going to be ugly. And as I played that film over in my head, and I seen the setbacks and the mistakes and the rejections and the loss and the pain and the hurt and the anger, as I seen all that, because here's what the caterpillar does in that pupa or that cocoon: it digests itself. So I knew I was going to have to digest some things in my life before I can move on to get that butterfly experience. So I knew that all this was going to be gritty and grimy. And at the end of it, after I rolled that all the way through my head, I said, sign me up. Sign me up. Lord, I'm willing to follow you wherever. I'm willing to listen to you, however, even if it's scary, because I know you're going to be with me and you have brought me out of something terrible. And I know you're not going to put me into something awful to lead me somewhere horrible. Absolutely not. And so that's where I'm at in my life. Every morning that I wake up, literally, and I know it's cliche and I know it's generic, but I started it on July 20th, started it on July 20th of 2017. And I've done it every day, almost every day. There's been a few days, but almost every day in my new life since. When I get up, well, first of all, I do some stretches in the bed, do some stretches in the bed, make sure that I wake up with a smile. I go straight to that mirror that's in my room here. I look at myself in the mirror and I say, I'm going to fight you today. I'm going to fight you and I'm going to give you all I got. Because there's two of us. You ever talk to yourself? You ever battle yourself? I remember I used to be on that free throw line when I played basketball, and I'd be like, come on, Chris, hit this. Come on, Chris. Come on, Chris. You got this. You got this. This is what I do every day. 100% committed. And then let's just say I could be here all day if I try to count my blessings. I'd never be able to leave the room. So I show my gratitude and I spend my time with my Lord. And then I say, show me how I can apply your word into my life out in this world today. Today. Help me today. Keep me here today. Hold me here today. And I have to do that because this is a battle. We're flooded here. How many thoughts? Hundreds of thousands of thoughts. 75,000 of them are negative, right? 95% of those recurring thoughts that are negative are the same. So I've got to fight. I've got to fight. I've got to fight. I've got to fight. So I stay on guard. I stay sober minded. And I know that today I walk in freedom and I'm liberated. I'm liberated. One of my favorite scriptures says, stand fast, therefore, in the liberty by which Christ has set you free, and do not become entangled again with the yoke of bondage. So, and I know the enemy is slick. He knows he can't get me with that meth. He knows he can't get me with that those opiates, but he can get me with a cross word. He can get me. He can get me into my feelings where I'm binge eating and watching TV and not want to get out of the bed, which may lead me back to using. It takes an indirect approach. And so I stay on guard every single morning. I do the same thing. For me, repetition is the mother of all learning. So I continue to use those repetitive processes in a sincere manner because I know I need them to withstand the attacks from the world. Because I know they're coming and I know they're going to flood. I know it. So I need to put my armor on every day adopt a mindset that we're going to fight today, and I'm not going to limit my capabilities because I've counted the cost and all this other stuff, this house that I live in, the money that I make, the friends that I have. For me, I give it all up to continue to do the next right thing and being obedient to the one who saved my life. And that's it. That's it.